Wagwan everybody, I am Miss Y and this is how I see it. If you feel like my content needs a crowd, please like, comment, share and subscribe. I am new to these YouTube streets and I'm trying to be a little bit more consistent in how much I post and what I post, but every like and every subscriber helps to push me up there in the YouTube algorithm. I just wanted to share part of a IG Live Chris Bassett did tonight after the airing of the Real Housewives of Potomac episode 6. He talked about his relationship with some of the husbands on the cast. He spoke about how he feels about Karen Huger's support this season. He also touched on the allegation made in tonight's episode that he grabbed Jacqueline's buttocks. He cleared up what happened at the reunion, the whole storyline this season that he made Gizzele uncomfortable because they had a conversation in her dressing room. He also talked about Jemele Hill and her comments about the season 5 altercation between Monique and Candiace. Needless to say, he got a lot off his chest. I did not record the entire live. At one point, the live ended abruptly, as you will see at the end. He did go back live, but I did not record anything that he said at that point. I am fully in support of Chris Bassett and Candiace Dillard this season. I feel like what Gizzele is doing is uncalled for and is unfair, considering that Chris did see her as a friend, and as he says in the beginning of the live, it's like if she was uncomfortable, all she had to do was say something and he would have been out the room. So go ahead and listen to what Chris has to say. Where I started recording was just him talking about how he doesn't agree with people who say Gizzele needs a man. It's just that she meddles too much in other people's lives. So go ahead and listen.
Gizzele has no problem finding a man. It's whether or not she doesn't want one. I feel like a lot of what she said that made her uncomfortable is because of the shit her ex-husband did to her. And I can understand that. I get that. Just tell me. Just tell me. Just tell me. Because if you would have told me that, I would have said, I totally get it. I understand. That's fine. And the other part that I didn't fucking like, I was waiting for her in the hallway. Bullshit. Bullshit. First of all, it wasn't a hallway. Where we film at this hotel is in their ballroom. There's a big gathering area right outside of that. All the production cameras and computers and everything, all the shit that they do over there is out there. And they have a couple of tables with drinks and snacks. The husbands, we had literally just finished filming, maybe 10, 15 minutes. I was out there getting some snacks. I had no idea that they were going on a break immediately after we were done. So I had no idea she was going to come out there. But she was. She did. And so I asked to speak to her. Because this pisses my wife off as well. When my wife and I get into an argument, when I'm ready to speak, I want to do it right then. Because I have all my thoughts. I want to get them out there and I want to talk about it. My wife wants to cool down and take her time, and when she's ready to talk, which is cool. Everybody is different. I'm not saying everybody has to, be the same, but so yeah, I wanted to talk right then. I wasn't waiting for her. I wasn't stalking her. She didn't use the word stalk, but I wasn't waiting in the hallway for her like she said. Like, this is the Gizzele that is adding extra to whatever. I wouldn't feel comfortable in a room with a married man either. Y'all dragging it. She never said you did anything. Stop dragging it. Mary Moochie won. Thanks for joining the live tonight. That's you. That's fine. That is okay that you don't feel comfortable in a room with a married man. Cool. Tell somebody that then. You just did. I'll never ask you to speak in a room. Now, she did say I did something. If you watched the episode tonight, she said I grabbed somebody's ass. Nobody's dragging it but them because they talk about it every week. So Mary Munchie won. If you don't like it, go on someone else's live. But now I know you're actually woman enough. I think that's a woman, and from your profile picture, it's very small here. But you actually said that you wouldn't be comfortable in a room with a married man. That's cool. And if I know that, I'd never ask you to do that. But I didn't know that. So I don't think it's an issue. This whole thing, oh, a man should never be talking to another woman or what, that's dumb. If you're that insecure in your relationship that you can't speak to another human being because you're afraid that something may happen, that's more of a you problem than a me problem. Now, if I was a creep and I'm out here grabbing asses for real and I make comments like, oh, hey, don't you look good tonight, or whatever, totally get it. Totally get it. But whatever, that's all I got for that. Thanks for tuning in. Like, I just don't understand people, man. Y'all. What is it? Confessionals from DA. Is that what it is? Confessions from duh. There's nothing to address. I didn't DM Ashley's friend. I don't know where that came from. So maybe it comes up later in the show because I just kind of, I feel like came out of nowhere. I don't know anything about that. So Vincent Peoples, if they're thinking like that, seems they're wanting it to happen. That sounds valid. I don't disagree. Now, does Gizzele want me? In no way, shape, or form do I think Gizzele wants anything to do with me. Before all of this, I thought Gizzele was a very nice person. And if we're being 100% honest, a lot of people go back to season 6 where we were playing like the newlywed game, and the question came up, and I have said over and over, I think Gizzele is a very nice person. At least I thought so in the moment. And a lot of people, he said in that game that he would hook up with Gizzele. I don't think that's how the question was really phrased. But one of the reasons, now Ray was smart, sort of. He picked Katie, who wasn't on the show. But I thought the question was supposed to be, the people who are on the show right now. And in all honesty, the only reason that I actually picked Gizzele, again, I thought she was a nice person. I didn't want to offend anybody's husband. It was an easy pick. She was the only one who didn't have a man that might get offended if I chose them. So, take it or leave it. That's that. But anyway. Oh, man, how I get so far behind here? Yikes. Candiace is in Vegas at the Soul Train Awards. She's being famous. She's being famous. She's doing her famous thing tonight. So, yeah. So, again, like I said, I really appreciate all of the support from everybody online. I mean, there's a few knuckleheads out there, and that's fine. You got to expect that. But yeah, how do I feel about Karen? I have no issues with Karen. Throughout this whole ordeal this season, I think Karen has been pretty supportive as well. But here's the fucked up thing for me. I gotta get comfortable for this one. Because of all this, And you know, I've told Candiace this before, and I'm like, Candiace, you got to play chess. It's not checkers, right? You got to think smarter. You got to think past the moment that's in front of you. And Candiace, Candiace is too real. She's just too real. She's not going to fake. She's not going to play games. And I respect the fucking hell out of her for that. She's just not going to do that. She's going to give you what you give her, and she's going to be real with whatever that is. I can't help but think after this season that people are, I don't want to think this. I just don't know who's real anymore. That's all. I don't know who's real and who's not. Oh, that's a good one right there. Bravo, Beehive, bravo. You are so fucking, like, please comment on more of my shit, because what that does when you comment on it, like, it puts it more in the algorithm and more people can see it and it gets my shit out there more. You're an asshole, but please keep commenting. You're so nice. I'm trying not to cuss people out, because on TikTok, if I say too many F words, they're going to ban me from doing lives for a week. I don't want to get banned from lives for a week. Ooh, that was a good one too. What do I think about what Jemele Hill said? Here's my thing with Jemele Hill. So when the question came up on Watch What Happens Live, who's lying, Chris or Gizzele? I appreciated her answer. She said lie is a strong word. And it is a strong word, because one person has their version of the story, another person has their version, and they both could believe that they are right. There's nothing wrong with that. So I liked her answer. I liked that she said, I actually like Candiace. What I didn't like, and man, how to phrase this, it doesn't matter how I phrase it. Y'all can do whatever you want. Where I come from in the D, you're going to run your mouth, you got to be ready to use your fists. That's not how life works, ladies and gentlemen. Sure, there are people out there like that. But let's also remember that this was a workplace event. Those rules don't apply in the workplace. But then, the unfortunate passing of Takeoff, 2 days later? And by no way am I comparing what happened to my wife with what happened to Takeoff. Two totally, completely different incidents. One is very sad and very unfortunate. I am not comparing the two. Let's make that very clear. But, these scenarios, they are the same. Wasn't Takeoff. He caught a stray, and that is very unfortunate. But what happened was, people were running their mouths. And then she tweeted something about impulse control, conflict resolution, and character something or other. They apply equally to both. And for you to not see that and call it a false equivalency is just ignorant on her part to do that. Somebody was running their mouth. Somebody else was running their mouth. Somebody couldn't take what the other person was saying. They could not control their impulse, and it resulted in physical violence. Luckily, that's where it ended. Physical violence, as we have seen, can then turn into bigger violence, gun violence. This is all because people are so concerned about what other people think. They can't control their own impulses. They're worried that their friends are going to say, oh man, they read you, and you're going to let them punk you like that, and whatever else goes on in those situations. And then you get escalating results, and they're all a result of impulse control. And if you can't see that, and you're going to call that a false equivalency, I question your education. I question who you are as a person. And that's how I feel about Jemele Hill. So somebody record that part and send it to her. I spirit. This live is about a whole lot of shit. We're just talking, having a good time, hanging out on a Sunday night. No, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. Chris is not mad. just passionate about the things that I speak about. And I just thought it was very disrespectful to say in one moment this over here, and then in literally less than 48 hours later, you say the complete opposite. That's, yes,
So y'all, that is where the live ended, and here are my thoughts. This is how I see it. I do agree with Chris that Gizzele projects a lot of her experience with Jamal onto other people's relationship, onto other people's marriage. And she definitely needs to work on that. And I also do think that because she knows that she is a beautiful woman, whenever a man is nice to her or is kind to her or pays her a compliment, she is probably one of those women who automatically feels like, yeah, he's trying to get with me. And that's, in my experience, that's never always the case. There are many men out there who are just nice guys. And I do feel like Chris is one of them, knock on wood. But I do believe that he is one of the nice ones. And I don't think that when he wanted to speak to her privately, he had any bad intentions. I also feel too that if Gizzele wanted to have this conversation on camera, she could have had a different approach. And hear me out. She could have had a sit down with both Chris and Candiace. And in this sit down, what I would have done is I would have said, like a big sister, hey guys, Chris, Ashley is trying to spin a tale like you were trying to be sneaky in her DMs when you responded to her story. And what I want to tell y'all is, Chris, you're a friendly guy, but there are a lot of women out there like Ashley who will take your friendliness and spin it to come for your marriage and to come for your wife and to make it look like you are not honoring your marriage. And then she could have, just drizzled in that conversation like, Chris, even you coming to speak to me in my dressing room at the reunion last year, I didn't feel comfortable with the optics. If the wrong person had seen you leaving my dressing room or saw us leaving my dressing room together, they could have, taken that the wrong way and again spun a tale to say that we were up to things that we weren't even doing. So you got to be careful, Chris. Never ask to speak to any of these women alone in their dressing room, because it's always going to boil down to her word against yours, especially because we're living in the Me Too era where we want to believe women when they say that a man did something or a man made me feel uncomfortable. And Chris, you didn't do anything wrong. Like, if she had approached it like that, I think Chris and Candiace would have taken that on the chin. They would have been like, you know what, Gizzele, I see you, we see each other, I get what you're saying. And us as the fans would have probably right now, been given Gizzele the thumbs up. We would have been like, you know what, Gizzele, this is probably the most mature you've been while still trying to be a little bit messy. And because she didn't come across like that, she's speaking out of both sides of her mouth. In one instance, she's saying Chris absolutely didn't do anything wrong, he didn't say anything wrong, he didn't touch me, he was just talking about things that had to do with things that were being said on that reunion stage. And then in the other breath, she's like, yeah, he absolutely did something wrong. Many a married man have tried me, and I just felt like Chris was trying to see if I was with it. And that's where, Gizelle's story is a little bit bothersome, because you are, in fact, coming for this man's character. With what he said about Jemele Hill, I also agree that we are definitely sad about the untimely loss of Takeoff. But we also have to be honest in saying, and I'm trying to make sure that I say this the right way, we also have to be honest in saying that what led to Takeoff being hit by a stray was a verbal altercation that was happening far away from where he was sitting. People who couldn't control themselves during a verbal disagreement. And it's the same thing that happened at the winery in season 5. Monique Samuels could not control herself during a verbal altercation, during a verbal disagreement that she was having with Candiace. And thank God things did not go so far left that Monique or Candiace or any of the women on that cast who were at the winery at that moment, thank God things didn't go so far left that any of these women got hurt in a serious way. And if people can't control themselves because somebody says, what you gonna do, drag me, and is spinning around, then it's hard for me to think that they'll be able to control themselves if somebody's saying something far worse. And it's so sad that Takeoff lost his life because somebody having a verbal disagreement couldn't control their impulse enough where they didn't pull a weapon. And so for Jemele Hill, in one breath to say, you know what, where I'm from, this is what happens. And then in the next breath is telling people, hey, you have to be able to control your impulse, and not seeing how just hypocritical that sounds when on Sunday night we watched you saying, yeah, people don't need to have impulse control where I'm from. But to clout chase off a man losing his life because somebody didn't have impulse control, you're going to make this statement and not see how hypocritical you sound. It baffles me, y'all. It baffles me. So I agree with Chris in terms of his thoughts on Jemele's statement after Takeoff's untimely passing. So those are my thoughts on Chris's live. Thank y'all for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, walk good. Bye.